Alright, this is going to be an introduction to GameMaker. We're going to make a very first game. It's very simple. It's based on some of the first GameMaker tutorials. It's a variation. This is called Catch the Clown. This is very simple, but it should give you kind of the basic understanding of what the core parts of a game are going to be. Now, one of the things that you need to make sure you're doing is you have a folder for resources. Resources are the things that you're going to be using in the game itself. So you have an image that's going to be used as a background. So this is a tileable image that can be repeated without a seam over and over and over again to create a texture and for a background. You're going to have an image, like a small little 64 by 64 pixel image of a clown in this or whatever. It could be anything. And a picture of a wall. Now these can be anything. Remember, sprites are just pictures that are the visual element of something. We're going to be creating things called objects that actually are the things that are running in the game. The sprite is just the visual element of an object. So we'll be using a sprite to be the visual element of an object, and that object is going to have actions and events that's being associated with it. So here we are in GameMaker. We have a lot of little icons up here that we're going to be working with, and a lot of it is redundant. A lot of it is, we're doing the same kind of thing. This is an icon, so when you want to create a sprite, when you want to create a sound, when you want to use a background or a path, this is an object and a room. And we can do the same kind of things by going over here and right-clicking on sprites and right-clicking and say create a sprite. So this icon and this does the same kind of thing. Or you can go up here to resources and say create a sprite, or you can hit Shift Control S to create a sprite. So there's the same thing happening in multiple different ways. The first thing we're going to do is build our resources, meaning we're going to put in the sprites that we're going to use and the sounds that we're going to use and the backgrounds that we're going to use within our game. So we're loading up what it is that we're going to be using. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start importing in some sprites. And so we want to make sure that we name our sprites in unique names. And we can start with a prefix SPR and underscore standing for sprite, and then we'll call this clown. Now we've given it a unique name, because what we don't want is to have clown be just the name of an object and the name of a sprite and the name of something else. We want everything to have a unique name. It's very important in programming that you have this, and you are programming. Even though it doesn't feel like programming, you are actually programming, and everything needs to have a unique name. Now I have a sprite with a name, but I need to associate the image that goes along with it. So I'm going to say load sprite, and I'm going to go to my folder where this you'll have yours on your desktop, and I have mine in a different folder. And so I am going to go into my resources folder, and I'm going to find my clown image, and I'm going to say open. So now I have a sprite named and an image associated with it. So inside of GameMaker I now have a sprite. I'm going to say okay, a sprite with a name and an image right there. Well, I'm going to do another one for the wall. So SPR underscore wall. I'm going to load that sprite, and I'm going to choose wall. I'm going to say OK. All right. And that's all I'm going to do right now. Say OK. Now I'm going to go down to my backgrounds because I want to load a tileable background. I'm going to create a background element. So these are all specific kind of categories where we're going to be loading things up. So I'm going to say create a background. I'm going to call this, I'm going to just BKGRND for background underscore red. And I'm going to load the background, and I'll choose my background image, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. So you can see I've got sprites, and this is an image, but it's being used as a background. And now I'm going to load my sounds. So I can click this little megaphone here, or I can go over here and say create sound. I'm going to call this SND underscore bounce. I'm going to load that. I need to find it. So again, it should be in the folder that I'm working with. So for you, it'll be off your desktop or wherever you're loading, wherever you're keeping your resources. And you do want to keep them. So this is the bounce sound. I'm going to say OK. Now here in this little window, I could actually play this if I wanted to. You might be able to hear it. Maybe not. It'll just loop, loop, loop really, really, really fast over and over again. I can adjust the volume here if I want. So I can turn down the volume if I'm testing it. I can turn it down or turn it up. I'm going to stop that. So I'm going to say, okay, so there's my sound for bounce. I'm going to make another sound here I have. This is my sound click. And I'm going to load that. So I have a click sound. Say okay. Sound click. I'm going to say okay. And then my music is going to be create sound. I'm going to load this for my music. SND_music. And this would be the music that plays while the game is happening. So I'm going to load that now. Some versions of GameMaker will not accept an MID or a MIDI file, so you might have to find a WAV file or something else, or an MP3 or something. This current version will accept it, but newer versions don't for some reason. So if I can turn this down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to say that's okay. So now I have my sounds. These are my resources, my sounds, my characters here, my sprites. And I have basically the good in my background. And now it's time for me to begin doing what's called building my objects. So I haven't really done anything other than just make a visual an object that I can see. I'm sorry, object isn't the right word. I have made a resource that is really just a picture that I'm going to use with something else. So you know, in games we have things like walls and other characters, and we are going to create a wall object, basically an object. So I'm going to go down here to objects. I'm going to right click and say create an object. Now what's interesting about this is I'm going to create an object. I'm going to call it obj_wall. Now this is an object that's going to be used in GameMaker. Without some sort of visual representation of it, it's really, you can't see it. It exists, it's there. It can have events and actions associated with, but it isn't visible because there's not an image. So the first thing I want to do is give it a visible element, and that's where our sprites come in. So I'm going to go to here and I'm going to choose my wall sprite. Now the wall object is using the wall sprite image to be visible. And this wall object is named wall because I want it to be a solid object, something that other objects won't pass through. So I'm going to choose this set checkbox called solid. Now right now, that's all I need to do with this. All I need to do is just say that this wall object is going to be a solid object. I don't want things passing through it. And I'll be using this in just a second. So I'm going to say OK. Now, if I have a wall object, an object in my scene, I can actually start building a room or something like that I want to put something in. You're familiar with this, so I could go to my rooms options here, or I can click up here to this little area and create a room, and I can go to my settings, the settings tab, and I can choose the size that I want this room to be. So right now I'm using 640 by 480. I'm going to just choose 640 by 640 just to make it a little bit more equal. Now here's my objects that I can add to my room. It automatically starts looking at the objects that we have created, and the only one I've created so far is a wall. Now I'm going to show you something. If I go back to my wall sprite, if I click on this, I can bring up that box that exists here, this properties, and I can see that this object is 32 pixels by 32 pixels in its size. So I'm going to say OK. Now I want to be able to place this object really easily in its position. So I'm going to go up here to Snap X and Snap Y and change it to 32 and 32. Notice what it's doing to the grid. It makes the grid meet those specific elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop multiple instances, meaning I'm going to copy this thing, making an instance of it. It's sharing the same exact properties like a clone of the wall object. And if you notice down here, there are instructions on how you do that. So if I want to add something, I'll use my left mouse button. If I want to add multiple objects, I'll use my left mouse shift. Now this changed with some updated versions, and so you always want to just follow the instructions. I'm choosing the object that I want, so if I had a clown here, I could add my clowns here or any other object that I've created. But thus far, all I have is a wall object. So just to get us started, I'm going to click here in these boxes, and I'm going to hold down Shift and just drag my boundaries for my game right here. This kind of gives me a place for my action to occur. So in this space. And all I really want to do right now is say OK. So I'm going to say OK. But what's going to happen is my little clown figure is going to move in this space. So my clown object is going to collide with the walls and bounce around. And when my mouse clicks on it, it's going to relocate to some random position and then keep moving, only increase in speed. So this is the kind of game that we're going to be creating. Okay? So my room is ready, but what I don't have is I don't have my object for my clown prepared. And that's where we're going to take some time. The rest of this is fairly straightforward, just kind of building a room, making some images. But the real area that you've got to spend some significant time doing is making sure your objects have the right actions and events associated with them. So we're going to say OK with this. Notice that I have my room here, my wall object, and I need to make a new object. And this is going to be called object clown underscore clown. I need to associate my clown sprite with it. And with that, I'm going to begin working on the first set of properties that we're going to be doing for the clown. Okay, so this is something that I always want to kind of keep organized with. So I use a list of the events that I need to happen. So this is what we have to do. Events and actions. There are lots of events that can occur. If I go down here to my add event and I click this, these are events that can happen in your game. A creation event, destroy events, alarms, steps, collisions, keyboard events, pressing buttons, releasing buttons, all these sort of things. These are the main things that occur in your scene, to your objects. So first thing we want to do is create. When our object is created, we want to associate an action to that. And what we want to do is say when this thing is created, remember we're writing code, we're saying when the object is created, we want it to go over here. There's a lot of different actions that can occur. We're going to be working in move and main and some different types of controls. The first thing we want to do is make this, notice I'm clicking and dragging this over here. I'm going to make this clown move in a random direction. It can choose, the computer will choose any direction that I want it to go. But don't choose this one because this is stop. So it's going to say go in any direction that it feels like and go at a specific speed. Think of speed as how many pixels per step, meaning our game is going to be 30 steps per second. So for every step of that, it's going to move so many pixels in one of these directions. So at step 1, it's going to be, so let's say it starts here. Step 1 is going to move 5 pixels away. Step 2, 5 pixels away from there, 5 pixels away from that. And so I'm going to say maybe, let's see what 3 pixels looks like. Okay? So I'm going to say OK. So just by doing that, let's just see what happens. So if I say OK, I need to go to my room and I need to add my clown, because right now I just have an empty room. But I want to add my clown. Notice that I have a new object and I can choose one. I'm going to add my clown, and no matter wherever I click him, it's going to begin right there. So what GameMaker is going to do is, when this room is started and it's created, this little guy is going to start moving in any direction it chooses at a rate of 3 pixels per step. So let's say OK. So how do we play this game? How do we test it out and see? So we're going to run the game right here. This little green arrow, if I click on that, it'll take a second, and there it goes. So look, it chose to go to the left, and then it has just starts going, and it goes on and on and on. We haven't associated any actions with these the walls or anything else. So it essentially just, let's try it again. See, now it goes in a different direction. Now if I try it again, it'll go in a different direction. So these are all different. So the first thing I want to do is either choose, do I want that to go faster? And I think I do, maybe just a little bit, but I'm not really going to worry about that. But what I want to do is make it bounce off a wall. So let's do this. So I got to go back into my clown object. I have a create, which makes it start moving. Now I could double click that and choose a different speed if I want, but I'm not going to worry about that. But I can go back down to my events, and I can say collision. So I'm going to choose a collision with what? I'm going to choose a collision with the wall. And so I have a collision happening, but now I need to tell it what's going to happen. So this event occurs, what's going to happen from that? So this is where I can say jump to a new position, or I can say jump to start, or I can say bounce. So there's a whole lot of things here that you can choose from. So I'm going to choose bounce. I'm going to click and drag that over here, and then say it applies to self. So it applies to the object that I'm working with. I'm going to say OK. So I always like to test things one by one by one and not get a whole bunch of things going. So I'm going to say OK. So I'm going to go back up here. There we go. So let's see what happens. It's bouncing off solid. Very good. Okay, so that makes sense. But now let's say, what if we want to have sound occur? So now we need to tell the computer, okay, when this starts going in a new direction. If you hit a wall, bounce and play a sound. So let's try that. Go back to my clown object. Go back to my collision. So whenever it collides with something, it's going to bounce against it, and we'll say play a sound. So I'm going to say play sound, bring that over here, choose the sound that I want it to do, and that'll be my bounce sound. And loop means false or true. Loop true means it'll loop over and over and over again and make that horrible sound. Loop false means it won't loop at all. It's true on or off. Think about it like that. Is it looping on or looping off? The loop is off. I'm going to say OK. I've just made a change. Let me test it out to make sure that it works. Yep. Okay, there's the sound. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's there. Very good. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to have another event associated with this, a mouse event. I'm going to say add event. I'm going to say a mouse event and a left button press. Left pressed. So a left pressed event. So when I put my when I press the left mouse button on this object, what's going to happen? Well, this is what I want to happen. I want it to jump to a random location. This is one I want. I'm going to jump to a random location. Okay. And I want it to start moving in a random direction, which I don't know what's going to be, but I want it to also increase the speed by 1 pixel. I don't want it to change the speed to 1. I want to increase the speed. So I need to say relative, meaning it's going to take its current speed and add 1 to it. Now I'll test this out until I get it to act the way I want, so it speeds up adequately. But for now, I want to just test this out. So I'm going to say OK. So when action is when I click on it with my left mouse, jump to a new location, start moving in a random direction, increasing the speed by 1. Let's test it out and see what happens. Here it is. There it goes. So I clicked on it and it moved. Clicked on it. It doesn't take long for the speed to get very fast. So you got to be all right. All right, very good. All right. All right, so there we go. So that's working just fine. Now, one of the things I want to do is I want to go back to my room here, and I want to add that background. So I have a background. Notice it has a background tab, and I can choose an image that I want to use for it. So I can go here. Since there's only one loaded for my background, I'm going to say background, and it automatically tiles it. I mean, unless this isn't checked properly, but it'll tile it in a specific direction. It's tiling it in X and Y. So now I have this background, and whether you like that or not, I'm not sure. It's a little bit intense for my taste, but there you go. We could just say no background and choose maybe a color that's a little bit more contrasting to the clown, or you could use other things as well, but I try not to have something that is too intense or too much. Be a more of a grayed out appearance, and then I can say OK. So there we go. It's a little easier on the eyes. Now, I want to have a click action whenever the mouse clicks on the clown. So I'm going to say another event. So when my left press, it jumps to the random position, starts moving in a new direction, and it plays a sound. So I want to put my sound here, and this is going to be my click sound. Say OK. Now it's going to happen in the order that you tell it. So this will probably happen so fast I wouldn't be able to tell if it was playing the sound and then jumping, or jumping then playing the sound. But I'll test it out and see. Oh yeah, and my sound's really loud. My sound is really, really loud. So I'm going to go to my click, and I'm going to turn that down. So what's nice is you can just keep going back and making these adjustments, playing your game, and making sure it's working the way that you expect. So that's much better. Okay. Now to make this a little more challenging, we can adjust how fast this thing increases. So when it's pressed left, I'm going to increase the speed only like 0.25. So a little bit. And then here's one other thing I want to do. To make the game a little more challenging, I want to create what's called an alarm. And an alarm is an event that will allow me to, I'm going to add an alarm, and it's called alarm 0. Now if you're familiar with programming, this is an array. It's a series. It's like a group of things. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Imagine having a list. And in that, the first one is always 0, typically. So I'm going to choose alarm 0. Okay, alarm 0 is going to be associated with an event. I'm going to have to set a timer, and when the timer goes off, it's going to it's going to call on an alarm, and the alarm is going to go off. So in my create event, I'm going to start a timer. So this is, watch what we'll do. I gotta find it here. Here's our timer. Now the number of steps is how many steps in a second. There's 30 steps in a second. So if I want this to go off in 4 seconds, let's say someone's, or no, in this particular case, I want this to change about every 2 seconds. So in 60 steps, I want this to call alarm 0. So I'm going to say OK. So when it's created, this timer is going to start. When it goes off, it's going to look to this event, alarm 0. And what we want alarm 0 to do is to go and change the direction of our little character. So I'm going to say when alarm 0 is called, it's going to make this change. Okay, I'm not going to change the speed. I'm not setting the speed. Okay, I'm simply going to leave it. So I'm not adding anything to it. I'm not adding anything to the speed, but I'm not stopping it. I'm not going to make it go to 0. So I'm going to say OK, and then I want to set another timer to start the alarm 0 again. So if I say timing, I'm going to say number of steps 60 calls alarm 0. So I'm going to say OK. So let's see if this works. So what it's doing is when it's created, when I create something, it's going to start moving in a direction and set alarm clock. When the alarm clock goes off, it's going to call alarm number 0, and alarm number 0 is going to change the direction of our object and reset the alarm clock. The alarm clock is going to go off, it's going to reset the object, set the alarm. Alarm is going to go off, reset the object, and it's just going to keep doing that. But let's just see if it works. Hopefully it does. So if I wait, there it goes, it just changed. And there it goes again, it just changed. There it goes again. It's running out of the walls. There we go. So it's working. So it's increasing in speed. So it's kind of random. It's increasing. All right. Makes it a little bit more challenging. Now, that's the basics of this game. So here's my challenge to you. Take your room and make some changes to it. Maybe you want to add some more objects. How would you do that? Remember, it's going to start here. Maybe you want to add some more blocks out here. Make it more challenging, more things for it to bounce around on. So let's say we do something like this. No, that's probably not good. There we go. So I'll say OK. Let's see what kind of gameplay that gives us. Maybe it's too complicated. It's moving around. I'm going to bounce off things. Okay, so as sometimes they can get stuck, but there you go. So let's say we want to do this. Well, if we want to add another clown, let's say we start another clown in the room down here, or maybe over here. So however we design this game it's going to play out. So now I have these guys. All right. Okay, so you can start working on that. Now here's my challenge. If you have these basic ideas down, and let's say that you've got your clown and he's going so fast that you can no longer click on him. How about you build an alarm that goes off after, let's say, 4 seconds, and it makes your clown slow down. So this clown is going, and if it's not clicked after 4 seconds, make it slow down a little bit. And if it's not clicked after 4 seconds, make it slow down some more till someone can click on it. So that's my challenge for you as you start to understand these basic principles of GameMaker. Have fun.